Luke heard laughter as two lovelies in shorts ran past him to splash in the surf. Slender, tan legs kicked droplets of white foam into the air. He loved watching the girl's carefree spirit, just being goofy and lacking an ounce of self-consciousness. He couldn't help but smile. The dark-haired girl, the one with the cut-off inside-out sweatshirt that showed her muscled midriff, stopped and turned to face Luke. Her brown eyes were set wide apart over a thin nose that led to full lips that were stained bright red. She licked those lips and pushed her chocolate brown hair from her forehead, exposing a delicious ridge of little worry lines on an otherwise smooth and flawless forehead. She cocked her head at a tiny angle and waved in that embarrassed way her mother must have told her never to do, especially to a strange sailor sitting alone on the beach with empty beer bottles at his feet. Luke waved back, using the same 3 middle fingers she used, sending his communication off with a shy smile. He imitated the angle of her head and felt the dangerous curiosity and wonder of their chance meeting. He wanted her in the worst way. The blonde was pulling her friend, gesturing to a spot down the beach, but the dark-haired girl wasn't having any of it. Luke's unspoken message clearly had touched her, and the golden tethers of his thoughts drew her to him, just as if he had special powers. It was lovely when that happened. He could almost believe in the supernatural, like those paranormal guys his sister read about in her romance novels. The exquisite young thing with the well-defined legs came to within striking distance. If he wanted to, and hell yes, he wanted to in the worst way, he could reach out and bring her into his arms. And he could tell she wouldn't resist, but it would be so much better if he showed a little restraint. Those who wait, what was that saying? No matter. Luke felt the confusing enchantment like vamps did in those books. He was a pleasant fantasy. Let her have her way with him. Yes, he could tell she felt she had a date with destiny. I can be your destiny for one night, darling. She disposed of her friend with a sharp command and, alone now, stepped closer to Luke. You look like you could use some company, she said as she swung her upper torso from side to side. Her feet had planted themselves in the sand, and he watched her pink nail polish peek out between the grains. Lady, you have lovely toes, he thought. But she had asked a question that needed an answer. That depends. He was stunned at the joy it gave him to let his eyes walk slowly up her body, every lovely inch, heightened by the knowledge that she let him. He watched the tops of her breast quiver under the cotton sweatshirt. He'd learned to assess subtle changes in body language and heart rate. He noticed the blush in her cheeks and the red blotches on her chest just below the delicate V at the top of her breastbone. His eyes roamed over her quivering chest again, and he smiled. He couldn't wait to hear her response. Depends on what? She asked. Her brown eyes mirrored truths he wasn't sure he had divulged to himself. If it's complicated, he said. I like uncomplicated. He was telling her something he was trying to convince himself he believed. She took a sudden brief inhale, her gaze quickly diverted to the ocean, giving him a full-pore look at her upper torso, every curve and dip until he thought perhaps he could even taste her skin. What Luke saw in profile was a strong, handsome woman with a body made for hard loving, and who was unafraid. Then she turned back and faced him fully. Her body dropped to her knees in front of him so quickly he thought perhaps she had suddenly gotten ill. I like it complicated and rich. I like entangled. I like feeling everything and being sorely missed when I'm gone. She didn't physically touch him, but she had mated with a part of his body that was rarely visited, his soul.